Without doubt, one of the industries most affected by the pandemic and its economic consequences was hospitality. Initially, it had to deal with lockdowns, closed borders and limits on the number of patrons allowed in their premises. Many were sent to the wall as a consequence. But after that came chronic staff shortages that led to venues being forced to limit their operations. Like other industries disrupted by staff shortages, technology will play an increasing role in service-based businesses, and that's something occupying the mind of computer technology company Oracle. This week, I caught up with its local managing director, Cherie.
Well, we've seen this automation happen during the pandemic, a huge rush to automation. Consumers were saying, we need to get to those services. How do we get to them if we can't physically get to them? So we saw many other industries take this up. And what we've seen through this survey is that in the hospitality industry, there is a time to market here that the hospitality industry isn't taking advantage of. And with this survey, we're seeing that the Northern Hemisphere is seeing a huge uplift in people travelling and moving into hotels and taking great holidays, and we're about to see that happen in Australia. So how are we going to address that here in Australia?
Okay, so this might be as simple as you check yourself into a hotel. It might be that you have better information about the place you're going to. But because that hotel might say, for example, have fewer staff, it might mean that you start to automate ordering of food or other services through that organisation.
Well, it's even more than that. So in Australia, we've seen about 30,000 people leave the hospitality industry. But we're now seeing a surge come back in terms of people wanting to take a holiday. In fact, 93% of Australians say in the next 6 months they're going to take a holiday. And 30% have said, we're going to take a revenge holiday, which is, you know, the epic style, my favourite, my bucket list type of holiday. So there's going to be a huge amount of pressure coming onto the hospitality industry.
So there is pressure, but if there's pressure coming on but there's not enough staff, that means you might disappoint your visitor, and that's not what anybody in the hospitality industry wants to do.
Ross, it's even worse. So we've got people who are now wanting to go on these holidays. Their expectations are even higher. They're wanting a digital experience. They're saying, I want a contactless check-in. I want to be able to check in when I want to. I want to check out when I want to. I want to have a home away from home experience. I want to be able to use my gaming console when I'm there. So there's now this additional pressure in terms of the desires of those people that are wanting to take these holidays on the hoteliers. So how are they going to address that too? So yes, how are they going to use the people that they've got at the 70–80% staffing levels? How are they going to now deliver the types of services with these additional pressures that the consumers are now wanting?
And we can see those pressures already with airlines and clearly with the problems they have with baggage handling.
Yes.
You can see it in terms of the queues at airports or other parts of the world.
Yes.
And so Australians have got to be conscious of the fact that the whole service industry is being disrupted right now as a result of staff shortages. It's going to change.
It is. And if you look at just the use of AI and cloud, we saw a great uplift during the pandemic of the use of cloud and AI technology. We saw the change in consumer needs. If we look at the aquarium at Melbourne Zoo, people have said, 50% of Australians have said, look, we don't want to stand in a check-in queue. We don't want to wait for our coffees. We want to be able to pre-order that. So it's those types of technologies that are now addressing the types of needs that travellers are now expecting. So Australia is going to need to step up to that.
Okay, so there's one other aspect of this, and that is the advantage that if you do embrace this, embrace the cloud, embrace self-check-in, self-ordering, that you gain data about your customer that you previously might have been imagining or doing through surveys. That's the advantage of taking this place. So it's not only reducing cost potentially long term, giving a better customer outcome, but then giving you data to understand more about that customer.
Absolutely. So now you can start being predictive in what your expectations may be of the travellers as they start to travel and start to enjoy the facilities of those hotels. So they may want to pay for the services that they want to use rather than pay for it, just all the service. So you'll be able to predict that and use that in your supply chain in terms of what you're going to purchase in. and affect your stock levels. You may be able to provide additional services that those travellers may want to need. So now you can use that data that's now available to you. However, one of the things that you will need to do is to train the staff. So how do you use that information? How can you best utilise that information? How can you get the staff away from being tethered from the front desk and being out there amongst the guests?
So this is actually a fundamental change also in the way in which you hire people, because previously you might have hired very outgoing hospitality style people. In the future, you might also be those types of people with very high degrees of tech skills.
It's a very exciting time.
Tell you what, Cherie, Ryan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ross.